Hello everybody, happy morning to you. It's so gorgeous out. The birds are singing, the sun is up. There's the sun. I don't know if you can see the birds, but they're so awesome. I want to talk to you today about relationships and love. Many times I hear how some people, they just think arguing is normal in a relationship. They think, that they have to argue, or they just get into the habit of arguing. And I really want to start here because Mike and I do not argue. And we have our own difference of opinion. We don't agree with each other. Don't get me wrong. We totally disagree on a lot of different things, and being a very like a lot of the stuff that I believe in, he doesn't believe in, and a lot of stuff he thinks is real, I don't, and that's okay. Although there were times before I really practiced me. Now I go through a lot of practicing me, remember? It's very important for me. So in a relationship, this is important too. I had to realize that he does not have to believe what I believe, and we could still have a really great relationship. Because a lot of stuff we do agree on, and a lot of stuff, there are lots of things that, we have a really great relationship, and some of the stuff we just don't need to agree on. And for a while, I've talked about it before in different videos, when I would get upset, I learned to go for a walk. I learned to walk away from it. I did not have to sit there and say what I thought that, that he should be believing, or he should be thinking, or he should be whatever. Who he wants to be is up to him, and who I want to be is up to me. Now, in relationships, I know, like for myself, when I was only 16 years old, I was told, not even 16, I was told by my boyfriend at the time that we were getting along really great, but he said that couldn't last because we haven't argued yet, so we have to argue. I thought it was really weird at the time because, we never had anything to argue about. Of course, then we ended up arguing over whether or not we were going to argue. So it was like the most stupidest thing that we could have argued over. And when I look back now, almost all the arguments are really stupid. It's usually because two people have a difference of opinion, or somebody forgot something and the other person is hurt by it, or somebody is feeling insecure and so they're pushing it on the other person. It's their fault. They're bringing in baggage from another relationship. There's so many different reasons that we argue, and it's usually because we think that person should be exactly in that moment who we think they should be. And instead of going, that's okay who they are right now, I'm going to try and figure out for myself, inside myself, why this is bugging me. Because it's your responsibility for who you want to be in every moment. Okay, so if you're having a relationship and you're arguing all the time, it may be time for you to look at what you're arguing over. Is it the same thing over and over again? Then ask yourself, is the relationship worth it? If it's the same thing you're fighting about over and over again, then I have a few steps for you. A, either don't mention it and move on. You both have a difference of opinion there, so let it go. Don't talk about it. Two, well, that would be the first, that would be the best one. Just don't talk about it anymore. But two, look inside yourself and find out, look at their opinion of it. See their side of it. Walk in their shoes for a moment, in your mind, of course, because you can never be who they are, but accept that, this is their thought process, and that's okay. In this area, maybe there's a reason they have this. Maybe it's an old habit they have that is around this, but do you really, you can't control it. So because you cannot control how they feel or think or are, you have to decide, is it going to be okay with you anyways? Let it go, you know. Go for a walk when you get too upset about it. By yourself. Do a craft, do something, you know, whatever it is that's bringing on that process. It could be something that you're bringing in from a different relationship, from many different relationships. But try and let it go, you know. Go for your walk. Spend time with you, figuring out you. I think that's the biggest part, is so many people, they argue about their right. Their right. Their right to believe this. And they think that the other person, when they have an opinion, is saying, no, you're not right. But that's not it at all. They just have their own opinion. We all have our own opinions. Even if it was similar to what we're thinking about somebody else, like with someone else, it's still our own opinion on something. So we're always going to face that, because we're all individuals. We're all unique. So they're not going to agree with you on everything. No point in arguing at all. Figure it out in yourself. You don't need to bring them into it. If you're having an issue and you're having a bad moment, and say you ask them to do something, they haven't done it, then do it yourself. Figure out how to do it yourself, and do it yourself. Or remind them in a nice, happy, did you get around to doing that? Could you do that now, please? And if they say, oh, shoot, I forgot, or if they say, don't even ask them to do it now. Just ask them, have you got around to doing that yet? And it's like, oh, no. And then they'll probably jump up right away if they're not busy and do it. If they're busy, they'll probably say, I'll do that in a few minutes. If they forget again, just ask them again or do it yourself. It's not that big of a deal. You can do it yourself too. Does it mean that you're going to get upset? If you choose to get upset that they never did it for you, that's your choice. It has nothing to do with them. Okay? You have no control over who they're going to be. You have no control over who they're going to be, and that's okay. So, relationships are supposed to be easy. They're not supposed to be hard, in my books anyways. I know everybody else has their own opinion on what a relationship should be like, and I know that some people feel that arguing is important, obviously, because I experienced that when I was 16 years old. Everybody has their own way of doing things, and if you feel that you want to argue and that it's mandatory in your relationship because of the passion that you have afterwards and all that other stuff, then if it makes you happy, then you go right ahead and do it. If it doesn't make you happy, which as far as I'm concerned, I've never ever had an argument that made me feel happy, that made me feel complete, that made me feel good. Okay, I've never had one. So, but if it makes you happy, then here are some guidelines to fighting fair. 1, stop calling each other names. That should never ever come into it. 2, find a way to argue that empowers each other instead of brings each other down. Because if you're bringing each other down, that means that you're just trying to do anything you can to win the fight. And it's not about winning the fight. It's about you both have a difference of opinion. That's all there is to it. 3, make sure that love is still in the game when you're deciding that you want to argue. Those are the 3 things that I would give you for arguing. As far as it goes, though, love is supposed to be easy. A relationship is not supposed to be hard work, no matter what anybody says. I've been in relationships that are really hard work, and let me tell you, they were not enjoyable. When I had to change who I was to fit into somebody else's world and to constantly battle between, it was not easy and it was not fun. It was not a relationship that I would like to be in. However, knowing now what I know about relationships and that it is supposed to be easy, it is supposed to be fun, it is supposed to be loving and kind and wonderful and exciting and passionate and it's just, that's what it's supposed to be like. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're constantly arguing, constantly fighting, that means you need to look inside yourself and do some work. Okay, because they are not responsible for who you're choosing to be. You get to choose who you want to be in every moment. You get to choose what you're going through in every day. Sure, there'll be hard days, but that's when the other person comes in and supports the hard days. If they're having a hard day and you're having a hard day at the same time, it's really hard for you both to be sympathetic to each other. It works better if you wake up every morning in love with your relationship, in love with your life, in love with your day. You wake up every moment excited about that. When you can be in love every single day, no matter what, unconditionally, that's where it gets easier and easier and easier. And not just in love with your spouse, but in love with yourself as well. Let go of all the baggage. If you need to fight, fight fair. And remember to love more, because that's the most important part. Love is easy. Relationships can be easy. It just takes time for you to realize you. Make an amazing day, everybody.